Hey everyone, this is Mike from the One Stop Co-op Shop, and today I'm reviewing Leviathan Wilds, one of my favorite crowdfunding games from recent memory. And disclaimer that I did receive a review copy of this one. Leviathan Wilds is a 1 to 4 player cooperative game where players will be climbing up these giant leviathans, 17 in all, trying to reach the crystals that are driving them wild and destroy them to restore the leviathan to sanity. They'll create a unique deck combination by choosing one climber and one class and shuffling the cards together, and they'll play those cards both for special abilities and also to gain action points, which will allow them to move around on the board, attack the crystals, and other actions. And at the same time, they'll be facing varied and escalating attacks from the Leviathan itself. So let's discuss 5 key things to know about Leviathan Wilds. So first, for my number 5, I've got a bit of a mix, and that's the potential repetition of the game's core state. Because even with the variety of Leviathans, even with the different climbers, you're still generally going up, and you're still generally hitting things. And with a given Leviathan, there will often be pretty clear paths. You'll want to get by the mushrooms for bonuses, you'll want to get to certain crystals. Now, this is a mix instead of a con, and it's only my number 5 because honestly, the variety in the Leviathan, the variety in the climber builds, the inclusion of this mutation pack that can vastly change up how each Leviathan works, they do give you a ton of levers to make the game more complex or challenging and vary things up, but in the end, you are still climbing and hitting, so some people might find it a bit repetitive, maybe, I don't know, it's my number 5. But my number 4 point is a full-on pro, and that is the variety of character classes and builds. So they've got 8 different classes, and then 8 different climbers you can combo with them, and each have their own unique cards to boost others and themselves. They each have their own unique mechanics. It is super fun to try out different options and combos. And I love these cover cards. Everybody please do this with asymmetric and varied games. Look, they give a complexity level for every class and character. They give a general sense of what they're good and not good at. If I want to be a tank, if I want to be a hitter, there's lots of options here. It's so much fun. Love this part of the game. My number 3 is also a full pro for my taste, and that's the traversal and action point spending in the game. Now, I did mention the possibility of having some sameness in the paths you take with each Leviathan, but that doesn't mean that it isn't tons of fun to figure out how to make your way up them. You can leap over gaps to reach faraway places. The Leviathans have tons of different configurations. And then if you get to a high point, you can glide back down to a low point. You have to keep track of these ledges where you can rest or where you can drop to. Just tons of options and interesting choices in your movement and action point spending in the game. And for those who are tactically minded like me, it is a joy to play. And something that is similarly a full pro for me and tactically delicious is the card play in the game. So you'll generally have 3 cards at a time, and you have to use 1 for action points, as I mentioned. But even that is an interesting choice because they'll have different invulnerabilities you have, so you can avoid certain negative effects on the board. But then the awesome thing are these abilities at the bottom, because you can use these out of turn. You can use them on pretty much anybody's turn, and a ton of them will also help other climbers, and more, of course, if you're a support class. So you're constantly, even when it's not your turn, looking at what you can do, thinking about kind of the combos you can build. And then thematically and tactically, the fact that your deck is also your grip strength, and once it runs out, you fall, and you have to go to one of those ledges and rest to get your cards back, just amps up the choice and card play and decision space to an awesome degree. It's great. But finally, I gotta save my number 1 pro. This game is awesome for the Leviathans themselves. 17 in this base game, and they are hugely different. They've got more normal ones to cut your teeth on, but then they've got ones like this where the entire board is rotating in a tornado. Woo! Or the one I did in my recent playthrough where up is down and down is up because you are swimming down into the water and having to get bubbles to breathe and not die. I also really enjoy the simple activation system for the enemies, where they'll have 5 cards, so you have some predictability, you can kind of learn what they might do, but the order is randomized and the cards get worse and worse as the fight goes on and you rotate more of them to their more dangerous side. I think it's a great, clean system with a lot of variety in how the enemies activate. Really the perfect balance for my taste to make the Leviathans exciting, but also give some control of difficulty in the game. So if you can't tell, Leviathan Wilds is easily one of my favorite games in recent years. I think it is a blast. If you like a lot of variety in your play, if you like a quick game you can set up and have a great time, either solo or multiplayer, I think this one is going to be right up your alley. But on the other hand, if you're looking for, I don't know, a big campaign game, giant miniatures, it doesn't have that. Honestly, it's hard for me to say who this game wouldn't be for. I think it's going to be pretty widely appealing. And we have a ton of playthroughs on the channel, including very recently, so you can check any of them out to see the game in action. Thanks for watching, everybody. Good gaming, and I'll see you at the next stop.